Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tech Jackson. We are about to get started right now. Thank you for joining us for our panel today. First, we're going to have a short video from our mayor.
I want you to imagine this. The city of Jackson is a treasure chest. You don't know what is inside of the treasure chest until you open it up and take a good look inside. Our treasure chest has 4 major gems, areas in which we flourish: technology, education, creativity, and healthcare. I challenge the believers and those on the fence of believing to view a showcase of our city's gems at the Tech Jackson Virtual Conference. Opportunities to take a free scoring and composing class from Benjamin Wright, composer of NBA YoungBoy and Michael Jackson. Or hear from Richard Sun and find out about opportunities to enroll in a free coding academy or the numerous other educational opportunities that will be hosted at the post-secondary fair. Even if you just want to show up for the free Zumba session, you should experience this rare event. If you are interested in technology, education, creativity, or healthcare, then this is the event for you. Simply register at techjacksonms.com. Once again, that is techjacksonms.com. Okay.
And now I want to turn it over to our moderator, Dr. Kidd. I think you are muted, Dr. Kidd.
I'm sorry. Good evening, everybody. We are going to be talking about education post-COVID. Life as we knew it is no longer in the field of education. And I have the honor of introducing our esteemed colleagues who will share information regarding education post-COVID. The first person we have on our panel is Tanya Neely. Tanya Neely is the office director for Mississippi Apprentice Program and is currently serving with the Mississippi Department of Security. She recently joined MDES, bringing her more than 15 years of state government experience that includes economic and community development, business and university relations, and travel and tourism. Her responsibilities with MAP include apprenticeship project management, oversight, and compliance. Ms. Neely also has served as a business and economic development coordinator and business internship coordinator with the Mississippi Institutions of Higher Learning and has experience working with university, career centers, technology, transfer offices, and economic development offices. Additionally, she has served as a bureau manager with Mississippi Department Authority Division of Tourism and Development. She is currently a PhD candidate at the University of Southern Mississippi in higher ed. Our next panelist is Ms. Amanda Thomas. Ms. Amanda Thomas currently serves as the Executive Director of Climate and Wellness for Jackson Public Schools. As Executive Director, she oversees the Nursing Development Department, counseling services, multi-tiered system of support, and due process hearing. Staff focuses on school climate, positive behavior intervention, and supports social and emotional supports. Thomas has more than 22 years of service in the field of education. She received a Bachelor of Science degree in elementary ed from the University of Southern Mississippi, a Master of Education and Education Specialty degrees in leadership from Mississippi College. Our third panelist is Maisha Wallace, who is the instructor of simulation and animation and designs at Jackson Public Schools Career Development Center. A multimedia designer by training, Maisha is currently teaching in Jackson Public Schools as the instructor of simulation, animation, and designs. Her goal is to provide students with project problem-based learning to advance skills needed for the 21st century. Her students have won multiple awards in STEM-related competitions under her leadership. Ms. Wallace has a Bachelor of Art degree from Savannah College of Art and Design, and currently she is pursuing a master's teacher certification with plans to continue her education with degrees in technology and education. And our final panelist is Tara Wren. Tara Rand is the Director of Education at Mississippi Public Broadcasting, Mississippi PBS station, and she has nearly 25 years of marketing, advertising, sales, public relations, corporate and nonprofit leadership, and advanced education experiences. Tara has worked as an adjunct professor of mass communication at Jackson State University since 2004. She received a Bachelor of Science degree in mass communications and a Master's of Business Administration from Jackson State University. She is currently all but dissertation toward receiving her PhD in public relations from the University of Southern Mississippi. So you all, this is our esteemed panel, and we will start with questions. We're going to go over several questions, and at the end, we will respond to any questions that you may have. Feel free to put your questions in the chat. First question for the panelists, and you all can go in any order that you all would like. What changes or shifts has your organization endured as a result of COVID?
I guess I'll start. The Mississippi Apprenticeship Program may be a little bit different than the organizations that the other panelists represent. We actually do business engagement, and our job is to recruit business and industry to start registered apprenticeship programs. I think our connection to students is that we work very closely with our community colleges. The community colleges provide the curriculum that goes along with the registered apprenticeship program. And what I have noticed that has happened is that with COVID, the community colleges have had to move most of their operations online. So whereas apprenticeship students would be in a classroom doing face-to-face, much like K-12 and other forms of higher education, they've now had to model the registered apprenticeship programs that they operate to go online and offer that technology online. I think that's probably going to be universal with everybody on the panel, but I think that's the biggest thing. But what I do like about it is, out of necessity, we have created an alternative and a pathway, and it's now a respectable pathway that students and or employees, which apprentices are actual employees because they get paid, can actually learn online, and it's a viable option. So I would say that's the biggest change I've seen in trying to recruit companies to start registered apprenticeship programs, is trying to figure out how they're going to offer that classroom portion. And a lot of it has to be done online.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Neely. Anybody else? Please go ahead.
Well, at Mississippi Public Broadcasting, we have certainly shifted with the need. A lot of what we did in the past in the education department was, of course, a lot of boots on the ground, as I like to call them, programs in the communities, meeting and greeting parents and families and going into schools and libraries across the state. And so now we are trying and being very innovative and creative on how to move more digitally, produce more virtual programs. I would tell you that we are still determined to get books to students across the state, and we are using a lot more postage these days, but we are determined in that way. Our business of television and radio across the state of Mississippi, the news, our statewide network continues to, that's uninterrupted. And so we hope that people will continue to use those particular resources for their news and information and education sources.
Thank you for that, Ms. Rand. Anybody else want to provide some insight?
I guess everyone. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to go?
Go ahead, Ms. Wallace.
I apologize again. Well, I guess everyone knows the students in JPS no longer attend school face-to-face, but rather in a virtual learning environment. So we are delivering instruction in new and kind of innovative and creative ways. So they're not only they're learning, but the parent is learning. Anyone can tune in and just be a part of the student's education.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ms. Thomas?
Good evening again. Basically, I was just going to chime in the same sentiment that Ms. Neely as well as Ms. Wallace has stated. Basically, our shift has been from a more traditional standpoint of face-to-face instruction with our students to a virtual online format. And that has just been a major shift. We have our teachers, our staff, our parents as well as like Ms. Wallace said, support staff that are learning to manipulate these online formats of instruction. And so we're shifting from traditional virtual learning spaces basically to the virtual learning spaces for students for teaching and learning.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you all. Next questions. How is shaping of education?
As far as the future of education, I think I mentioned this earlier. I think it's creating out of necessity a need to have different pathways. Earlier this week, the Mississippi Community College Board and the president of Jones Community College did a presentation along with the Mississippi Economic Council, which is the state chamber of commerce, on the Mississippi Online Workforce College, where companies are going to be able to hire individuals, and if they need to train them, they can work with the local community college that services their area. And a lot of that training can be done through this Mississippi Online Workforce College, which I thought was great. I don't think that would have probably happened so quickly if it wasn't for COVID. I think COVID has created a need for us to rethink how we deliver education and training in general. As K-12, that's higher education as well. And it's for us, and as far as our program, because we work so closely with community colleges, a part of the registered apprenticeship program is the what they call related technical instruction. And it's what I call the classroom. A lot of that has had to go online, like most other forms of education, because of the CDC guidelines with social distancing and masks and everything like that. But with COVID, I think we see the future of, I think sometimes I would always think that people thought online learning was less than classroom learning. And I always thought that, you know, if it was done properly, it could be just as effective. Now, I'm not an educator, but I've been in the higher education system for a while, and COVID to me has shown that the future of education, as well as workforce development and training for employees, that online learning is going to be the way to go. We're going to see more innovative and creative ways to do that through Zoom and Microsoft Meets or whatever it is, all these online platforms to deliver this technology. So that's what I see from working with MAP and working with companies that offer apprenticeship programs, because they're so closely linked to higher education. They have to follow the cues of the higher education providers. And like y'all know, many of them have gone online with training their students and employees.
It's a lot of good information. Thank you for that.
Yes.
The next person who want to respond?
I see where COVID has shaped the future of education, where it's more collaborative. So we're seeing more organizations, everyone's kind of pitching in to make sure education is accessible. So you may have community groups that are going in and they're donating devices so every child in the city can have one. Or you're seeing companies like Comcast donating maybe free Wi-Fi services. You're finding organizations, health organizations, feeding students where food pantries and where we can no longer, distribute food and in the cafeterias like we used to. So the bus drivers are even out delivering food to bus stops. So we're seeing like even parents have to get online to teach the kids to see what's going on. So you have more stakeholders participating in the nuances of everyday school. So I can say, to me, you have more collaborative forces, and I can only see it continuing this way.
Okay. Wallace? All right, Ms. Wren?
I'm sorry, it was frozen, so I don't
Ms.
really.
Wren, are you going to comment on that?
Well, I ditto what they said. There are just more opportunities and different new innovative ways to learn. You know, COVID has shaped and shown us that we can be different, we can operate different, and it's just forcing us to be creative and really to search our students and our parents working with with their children at home, how we can learn differently and learning together. And that's one of the things that we stress at MPB and we promote is families learning together. And this is just showing how COVID has just shown us how we can better do that as parents, caregivers, guardians.
Okay. All right. You know, talked about the parent engagement may provide level of how we engage with student engagement.
Dr. Kidd, would you ask that question again? You kind of broke up there a little bit.
Happy to. Has played a role for shaping education and able to do student-parent engagement.
I think I'll jump in and because I think Dr. Kidd is asking about parent and children and student engagement, and I hope that's her question. Sounds like it. I get bits and pieces, but what I will speak to that. I'm sorry. I think that parents and students are. This has stretched parents. I'm a parent myself, so it stretched us to and challenged us, challenged our learning styles, and it encourages innovation. I will tell you, at Mississippi Public Broadcasting, we are focused on and have been focused on parents and the family piece for a while. Right before the pandemic hit, we had been planning for a couple of years a project which we call Parents Are Teachers Too. Short, we call it PAT. And this particular program is focused on the parent and providing resources and encouraging and empowering them how to work with their children at home, extending the school day. Well, at the beginning, right at the beginning of the pandemic, we were set to launch PAT across the state. It's a train-the-trainer sort of workshop. And we had trained a lot of facilitators across the state in 20 counties. And so it halted. So a few months ago, we decided, hey, we need to continue this because this is the perfect time to have a program like PAT to encourage parents and to give them the resources that they need and encouragement that they need, tools and strategies to work with their children at home. And this is when COVID was really new. There was a lot of stress and frustration with parents. And we did that. We challenged ourselves. We started to do it via Zoom, and our pilot went off without a hitch. We had about 100 parents, 150 children were impacted by the program, and we had a meeting, afterwards, and the parents were saying just how helpful it was during this time. And I will just put out there that we are launching our second wave of PAT sessions, and so go to our website at education.mpbonline.org and see how you can participate. Any parent across the state of Mississippi can participate, and we're hoping to launch a new sessions by the end of, in a couple of weeks here in November.
I'd also like to add to that about the parent
Thank you
involvement.
For that. Thank you for that, Ms. Wren.
I'd like to add to that. Although we don't do engagement directly with students and parents on a regular basis with the Mississippi Apprenticeship Program, Normally when I get calls or emails of individuals wanting to become an apprentice, know about what apprenticeships are available in the state, I forward them to their local community college, because that's the boots on the ground for the registered apprenticeship program. But what I will say is, with registered apprenticeship, a lot of people don't know what apprenticeship is. They think apprenticeship and they think you're working in some factory and you're oily and you're dirty. Those are misconceptions about apprenticeship. There are white collar apprenticeships in cybersecurity and IT, finance and banking. As a matter of fact, I happen to be at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College right now. They had an registered apprenticeship graduation for the Keesler Federal Credit Union Bank Branch Managers Apprenticeship Program. So they had 9 individuals go through a program, over 4,000 hours of registered apprenticeship training to get an apprenticeship certificate. So what I would say to parents and to students as well, during COVID, it's allowed us to talk about, Ms. Rena talked about different options and pathways. It's allowed us to think about things other than university, going to a 4-year college. There are so many more options. The average salary for a registered apprentice in Mississippi is $70,000. They make good money. Y'all ever had to call a plumber? He makes good money, okay? And he does not necessarily have to have a 4-year degree. Now, I'm an advocate for higher education, so I'm not saying that. But what I will say to parents and to students, explore your options. Don't forget about community college. It's much cheaper. You can get those first couple of years out of the way, those same credits that every university teaches. You can get them cheaper. You might even get a scholarship. I would also say, think about registered apprenticeship. The unique thing about registered apprenticeship, you are an employee when you sign on to be an apprentice. You are getting paid. So you are working and you are learning at the same time. That company is making an investment in you. And when you finish your program, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, some programs last up to 4 years. When you finish your program, you leave with a certificate from the Department of Labor that is accepted everywhere. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be offered a position, but sometimes they have apprenticeship programs. They have so many apprentices, everybody can't get a job. But you will get paid during that time versus when you go to school, you're paying to go to school for a job you're going to get later, hopefully, you know. So what I would say to parents and students, don't forget about registered apprenticeship. If you're interested in knowing about what apprenticeship is or where you can find it in Mississippi, go to apprenticeship.gov. That's the Department of Labor website, and you can click on Mississippi. That'll get you to our program, and you can see what apprenticeship programs are available in the state in your area. So check with your local community college or go to apprenticeship.gov and think about the registered apprenticeship route. That may be an option for you in lieu of skipping a year and sitting out for college, or deciding you don't want to go to 4-year college right away. So that's what I would say for the parents and student engagement. Make sure to explore your options.
Ms. Neely, I would like to add to what you're saying about the Mississippi Community Colleges. Over the last several years, we have been involved in some workforce development initiative, and it's called Get Into Work MS at MPB. And one of the things, we partnered with the Mississippi Community College Board, and we traveled around the state when we were able to, talking to the community colleges about these particular programs that you're speaking about, some licensed programs that, you know, don't take the 4 years, some 6 months, some 9 months, you know, several years. And I'd just like to lead people, send individuals, parents, and students who are thinking about that next step, thinking about what you're going to do, to that website, because we have videos. We have 10 videos that we created in the top sectors in Mississippi that have more jobs than skilled workers. And a plumber, like you're saying, they do make a lot of money. And so
yes,
we have those types of videos on there that would just give you a sense of the need in the state, the training that's available throughout community colleges. And like Ms. Neely, I am a proponent of higher ed, you know, but that path isn't for everyone. So I just invite everybody to go to that website, education.mpbonline.org. You can get through it there from our workforce development tab there, and just look at it and see what might be available for you. So I invite you to do that. Thank you.
And I would just like to say, from a K through 12 standpoint, and within Jackson Public Schools specifically, we do have a parent engagement department. And our Partners in Education has been doing virtual parent sessions on a weekly basis every Thursday, in which we've invited external medical partners to be a part of that, to deal with our social emotional learning aspect for our students and our families, as well as we've had some in-house Jackson Public Schools curriculum leads, as well as teachers, to deal with instructional components as far as our virtual platforms. We've mentioned Canvas, we've mentioned Google, and we've mentioned, we actually have what we reference Big Blue Button, which is within, as you all stated, Microsoft's Teams and so forth. So basically, the overall theme is that we had to shift to technology and to utilize more social media platforms in order to engage our parents. And we do have particular platforms within Jackson Public Schools, such as School Status, that we reach our parents through virtual means as well. So not only those platforms, but also just utilizing Zoom and those other virtual platforms to have workshops and meetings to engage our parents as well.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Thomas. Ms. Wallace, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I don't have anything. I think Ms. Thomas covered it all.
All right, ladies, the next question is, how has the role of the educator been shaped in the last 6 months, and how are you preparing students?
I guess I'll take this one first. Being I'm the classroom teacher. So I guess I would say the role of the educator has become more like a navigator. So we're making connections with learning from different places. We have all these resources to kind of connect learning. And you can, like we talk about parent engagement, you can now bring parents into the classroom. You can now bring industry professionals to the classroom where we didn't quite have this capability before. So you're kind of like shifting, you're guiding the kids to where they can get information. And it's great watching them make those connections and you kind of guiding them.
Okay, all right. Anybody else want to provide some feedback on that question?
No, I just want to say I applaud that. I think that's very unique because, like she said, in the past, if you wanted to get someone from a company to come into your classroom, you probably had to go through a whole lot of different avenues, red tape, blue tape. But now you can just say, hey, here's the Zoom link. I just applaud that. And it gives the students more opportunity to make those connections, like you said, Ms. Wallace. So that's great. I applaud your classroom efforts.
I agree with that. I'll add to that. I got a call. I can't remember the teacher's name. I apologize, but he was from Provine High School. He connected with me on LinkedIn, wanted to know a little bit more about apprenticeship and how it worked, and wanted to have someone to come in and speak to his upperclassmen. Since we work directly with our community colleges, what I did was I said, the best person to come and speak to your class would be a gentleman named Josh Bauer at Hines Community College, because Hines services the Jackson Public School District area. And so Hines Community College has 2 programs with the Mississippi Apprenticeship Program. They have Continental Tire, which I'm sure y'all are familiar with, and they also have KLLM Trucking. And they bring in a lot of apprentices. I don't normally do the numbers. My numbers person isn't sitting here with me, but I think at last count, we were at around 600 or so apprentices with KLLM Trucking. And then I think we'll start having apprentices from Continental sometime in the early part of 2021. But what the unique thing about that was I got a request for someone to come and talk with their upperclassmen, and they ended up doing it virtually. So Josh was able to stream into the classroom and talk about Continental and talk about KLLM Trucking and talk about what apprenticeship is, and also letting those students know, a registered apprenticeship is a viable option. A lot of people think you're not successful if you don't get a college degree. And what people don't realize, the majority of people don't have college degrees. The majority of people don't have college degrees. It does not mean you're not successful. It does not mean you can't make a good living wage and be trained in your craft or your profession. So what I would say to that is, echoing off of what Ms. Wallace was talking about is, we're getting calls about, hey, we're needing to fill the time in, tell us about your program, we'll feed you in. So it's made creative ways, we don't have to get in our cars and drive over. We can, we can actually do things like that. So I think that's good too. I'll echo that. I think it's a good opportunity to reach the masses.
Yeah, it's been excellent. It's been excellent. Just to echo what Ms. Wallace said as well, teachers are more as facilitators now, facilitators of the students' learning. You know, we're having to really have students to take more responsibility and accountability for their learning as they navigate through Canvas, as they navigate through Google Classroom. We know that they're being issued assignments and so forth, so they're taking a lot of responsibility for their learning. So I think as we do that, we're really shaping them, whether they choose, as Ms. Neely said, the college path, or they choose a different career path, they'll be better prepared. Because of course we know that we really shifted to technology, and I can say I have a 6th grader, and she probably could utilize those platforms a lot better than her mother did. So we're definitely preparing them to be college and career ready.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
God bless you.
Okay.
Thank God my kids all graduated school before this home school. I don't think I would make it, y'all. I don't think I would make it. So yeah, thank you.
Besides the use of platforms like Zoom and Google Meet, what educational resources are available for families to aid students?
I'm going to jump in on that one too. Okay, besides, because right now everyone is so accustomed and thinking in the frame of mind with just the video conferencing platforms, but there are a host of other platforms that I just find every day as a teacher when I have time going through what's available to us at JPS. So a great one is for parents and students to learn is the whole entire Google Suite, because they have share where we can share with our Google Drive. That's how way we can deliver work. There are platforms like Clever, and Clever is what houses all JPS EdTech, and there in there is the Canvas. I have a student, my child is in 12th grade, and he is autistic, but the special needs teachers are using devices like Freckles, where I can go in and I can just at the click of a button, touch screen, I can see what's available, what assignments he have, what did they look over in class, and it covers units from science to reading. They even have it where he can, where he has trouble with his language, it can read to him. So those are all available in the Clever. So Bub is one I just found as a teacher today, where I'm going to use it to present the work that where families can see what students are actually doing in my classroom. It's like a little portfolio app. So there are tons and tons, and all this is just found in your Clever. If families go in and just look at the Clever in the EdTech, there are a host of educational apps, and it's just getting us in the mindset that this is our world now. We kind of need to know this technology.
Right. Excellent.
Well,
I got some research to do, Ms. Wallace.
Yes. I will share a few of our.
I just want
Go ahead, Dr. Kidd.
No, I was just going to say, I just want Ms. Wallace to come in and do some type of training for my staff. But go ahead, Ms. Rian.
Yes. I'm going to share several tools from MPB, PBS with you all that I hope that you find useful and can use them in your homes and in your classroom. The most exciting venture that we have just started, we launched a new television channel, a 5th channel on MPB television. It's called MPB Classroom TV. It is an instructional television channel, and it is in partnership with the Mississippi Department of Education. We have Mississippi teachers and coaches who have been coming into our television studio over the last couple of months, recording lessons, and these lessons started airing on this channel last week. By the end of the year, we will have about 100 lessons. We've started out with the early childhood, ELA, phonics, those sorts of lessons, but we're going to be adding more and more to this channel, robust content for various grade levels and disciplines. And it also has a corresponding web page with all the information that can be found about this, this new channel. So if you haven't checked out the channel, check it out. Here in the Jackson area, the channel is 29.5. But on that website, it'll show you wherever you are. This goes across the state of Mississippi. And the thing here is we were hoping, our hope is that this helps to create some education equity for those students who do not have internet access or access to broadband in their area, more of our rural students, and sometimes depending on where you are, inner city as well. So this channel hopes to fill that gap, and we're working closely with MDE to make sure that we have the right content on there. The second product I would tell you about, or platform, is called PBS Learning Media. It's at pbslearningmedia.org. It is a library with hundreds and hundreds of recorded lessons. It is based on state standards. You can do a search via grade, via subject matter, and there are lesson plans, videos, you name it. Check it out. You will not be disappointed about that particular tool that you can use there. Also, we're launching on Friday a new podcast. MPB Education is. I'm the co-host along with one of Jermaine Flood, who will be the host of the show. It's called Chalkboard Chat. And it is new to us, and it is intended to provide the most timely and relevant information, education information. And not just to have someone on to have a conversation, but to provide immediate information, immediate help to families, students, and teachers. And if you ever have an idea, want to come on, we have some of you on, my components here to come on and be guests. We would love it. And the last thing I would tell you about our education website is that there is an at-home learning webpage there with full of resources that we keep updated and timely with whatever is going on. We keep our ears in this education world. We take from our partners what we need to be putting on that webpage. It's education.mpbonline.org, and that's the at-home learning page. So those are 4 different resources that I invite you all to look at, and hopefully they're helpful to you at home and in your classrooms.
Thank you, Ms. Rand. You guys are full of information.
Yes, you are.
Ms. Thomas, Ms. Neela, did you all want to have some input on that?
I don't really have anything to add other than that, because mine is normally business engagement, and so we pretty much stick to the status quo. I have not been informed by any of my community colleges that they're using anything different. So we stick kind of with the Zoom and the group meet for our meetings and engagement with potential registered apprenticeship program operators in the state. So I don't have anything fancy like Ms. Rand. I got a whole lot to research now. This is interesting.
Well, I'm going to be looking forward to you all to come on and talk to me, and we're going to be collaborating together, because I think what you all have to offer, we need to put that content out. It's statewide, whether we do a broadcast on our websites, we need to get together, all of us.
Yes, I agree.
And Dr. Kidd, being that Ms. Wallace and I both work in Jackson Public Schools, a lot of the tools that she mentioned, basically there are a few more. She mentioned Freckle. So Freckle is our intervention program that we utilize for ELA as well as mathematics. And then we have My Own. We have Renaissance Learning, which deals with our universal screening, but you're also able to customize based on the skills and concepts that the students may have gaps in, to give that instruction as well. So when we deal with our intervention programs, those are some platforms. We use Ready Math for mathematics instruction, but an online resource, of course, is iReady. And then we just basically encourage our students to utilize whatever free resources that they can have, whether it's for keyboarding as they prepare for their ICT classes, and as well as accelerated reading is another big focus for us. So basically any of those free websites now that we have available for them to enhance their reading skills. So My Own, accelerated reading, the Freckle, the iReady, all of these are instructional tools that are within the Google Suites and the Clever that Ms. Wallace mentioned for Jackson Public School students.
Cool. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that's a lot of information, you guys. Ms. Rand mentioned some of the inequalities. COVID exposed the inequalities within the education systems. What are some of those? inequality. There's a way to close some of the gaps within education. Your thoughts?
I'm guess I'll go first, being that I experienced it firsthand. Prior to the pandemic, well, we found that, well, I did, a lot of my students did not have Wi-Fi or internet in the home. They would have it on their cell phones and they would use a hotspot. But, you know, I guess with the cost of internet services being so high, a lot of families just did not, you know, they didn't have it, which caused a digital divide because people don't understand. Students have to be, they live in an entirely different world from us adults. They live where they have experienced their whole life receiving and learning through technology. You know, the first thing we give, I have a 3-year-old also, and the first thing we kind of give him is the cell phone. So, you know, they're getting all this media. This is how they've learned, this generation of student has learned. So to be us older people, we aren't digitally literate, and that some of them aren't either besides social media. So then it becomes a point where you have these students in affluent neighborhoods who've been learning how to code since they were in kindergarten. You know, they have innovation, what do they call it? The innovation districts all over Mississippi, but in some of the districts where it's much needed, you don't find us getting picked for innovation districts. So our kids are missing out. And here, when schools shut down, they're if you had it accessible to you, you could go on what's called like OutSchool to Learn, or these other learning platforms where you have teachers who's getting paid to learn and teach random subjects. And if you have the money, your student, you know, you pay $100, your student can learn anything from Chinese to Arabic if you choose to pay for it. So those are kind of like the inequalities we kind of see in education, well, that the pandemic has kind of highlighted.
And I'd like to echo what Ms. Wallace said as well. Even though we don't work directly with students, when you have apprentices that take required technical instruction or the classroom portion of their apprenticeship program at a community college, and the community college has to be closed due to COVID, and they don't have internet access, it affects the delivery of the program. So I just like to echo, even though that's K-12, it follows through as well. We have seen that in the Mississippi Apprenticeship Program, where certain programs will say, okay, we'll make some amendments in the way we're delivering it to make sure more apprentices can have access to it. So it's been challenging from what I can understand, which y'all know, because y'all live with it too, with the students not having access to the internet. It's the same thing with the students in the community colleges as well. A lot of students get access to those things through their institution. And when they don't have it through their institution, it's very difficult for the education to be delivered to them.
So one of the things that the paper implied was that not only were the students experiencing digital divide, but also a large number of teachers that they could not do the teaching from home because they didn't have internet or Wi-Fi, what have you. Ms. Thomas, will you respond to that, please? Any familiarity with that?
Yes, definitely. Both students and staff have experienced, like you said, and we talk about internet services, but not only just internet services, but the technology devices as well. So if you don't have the up-to-date technology devices, then you're not able to deliver that instruction effectively to the students. So just as Ms. Wallace and Ms. Neely stated, one of the issues, basically not having the technology devices nor the hotspots, to be able to deliver that instruction synchronously, but then the asynchronous students who just don't have anything, they don't have the devices nor the hotspots. So they're losing a vast amount of instruction. And so what we're having to do is, because they don't have the instruction basically one-on-one with a tutor or a certified teacher, that the person that would be able to do it synchronous, and I'm saying online, would receive. So now we're having the challenge of closing those gaps, when we bring them back, having some intervention services provided to them on those particular skills, reteaching some of the skills, even looking at those prerequisites that they may have missed during this time frame. And we know now it's been a wild, Ms. Wallace mentioned that we're 100% virtual. So basically from March of last year up to now, we have not seen students in person. But definitely, Dr. Kidd, it's been both students and staff members who lack technology as well as internet services, and it could be because of where you live. A lot of times, our teachers are within rural areas, and so that bandwidth may not be as strong so that they can deliver that instruction effectively in the virtual environment.
Yeah.
Exactly. One of the things Ms. Wallace talked about was the more affluent neighborhoods. And I know in some areas, even if you can afford to pay for internet, the availability and more affluent, you can pay for internet in some areas, but you're going to get that slow internet compared to your affluent family members who may live on another part of town where the internet is fast and quick and it doesn't frustrate you. So even with where they're placing the wires or whatever the right word is not, it speaks to the inequality of our students being able to receive the services, even in areas where their families can afford to pay for it. It's just not offered in all areas. So that's another thing that, maintain the gap. So what are some ways, what are some things we're able to do to kind of close the gap? Because correct some input on that. Is the State Department of Education mandating the test scores, the passing of the exams? Okay, well, the City of Jackson has 2 daycares that we own and operate, and I know the kindergarten readiness test will be given in spite of the fact that we are, in the midst of a pandemic. So I'm not sure about the older ages.
What I can speak to that is right now we have not been giving any accountability measures, but right now it's been stated that the students will test. So all the state assessments will resume. However, we have not been giving any information of how that will factor into our accountability ratings or measures this year. Okay. If that answers your question, yeah.
I can speak as far as in career and technical, we are expected, being that the other career and technical centers across the state are having face-to-face, we are expected to be able to test.
Okay. So how do we close these gaps? How do we make sure our children who are in schools or communities with less technology, how do we make sure our kids are able to meet the mark? How do we close that gap?
I think the way we can start is as far as like other educators, we have to become digitally literate. And what I mean by that, we have to learn and rethink the way that we have been given instruction and give instruction in a new way for these students to learn. So we got to think outside the box. You might have to put videos in there for visual learners and audio in there for auditory learners, as well as text information. You have to think about delivering instruction even for where a parent could come in and it's broken down for everyone in the family to learn. You just kind of have to rethink the way you're teaching, and that would help. We need to be provided training on how to use some of these educational apps. A lot of times, they're going to kill me for saying this, but in our offices, it's hard just to get the attendance clerks to understand how to just use if we're taking roll and they're using the share, they did learn, but that with older generations, and I'm trying to say it in a nice way, and learning how to use just the share to do like in Google spreadsheets, it's a lot. It's a lot. We get so frustrated, like, well, I don't want to learn. It's funny, like the ladies in my building who are close to retirement are just having a fit about the technology, but that's because we haven't had the training and we've been having to rethink some things. So I think this is what should be provided. My coworker just finished her dissertation, and this is what she was talking about. We should be provided these trainings on a regular.
Yeah. Yeah. And although with the Mississippi Apprenticeship Program, I have a different perspective because I'm business engagement. I agree with that. And I think dialogues like this helps me learn a little bit more about what the students that we're hoping to recruit into apprenticeships, because our target audience is between 16 and 24. This lets me know the challenges, so that when I go to a company and I say, okay, we have students from this area, they're looking for apprenticeships, what's going to happen if we're still in the COVID, era? How are we going to provide that related technical instruction or the classroom instruction if they don't have Wi-Fi? Will you provide a hotspot? Will you provide the equipment? So we can go in and have conversations like that. So I think opening up dialogue like this can help others, and bring people to the table can help others think about, well, what creative way can I solve problems that will help the students, but also help in my world, the company get the students and train the students. So this has been very informative for me, especially with the K-12 stuff. Very informative.
Okay. Thank you for that. What are some of the innovation that you see occurring within education? Example, in other words, pedagogy tools. What are some of the innovations that you see occurring within education?
I guess that's a me question. What we're seeing is something new we've picked up in JPS this year. Is called the SAMR model. And one of my experience with it today is, so I'm teaching about video, because I do teach a video game and interactive design class. And so I'm teaching the students all about terminology that has to do with video game design and the history. So instead of giving them definitions, that's boring because who's going to do that? Now I can use Padlet. Padlet is another app we've been using. It goes into where we can put it into our Canvas. And so with Padlet, I can just put a definition, and I can put like the tech articles where they're going to give the students, they can have video in there, they can have podcast information, just all visually and auditorially ways where they are having an experience with this word. So they're making all kinds of connections that they wouldn't have before. It's like connecting their prior knowledge with their existing knowledge. And that's something new we weren't able to do or thought to do.
So I have a question.
Right. Okay.
How do you guys are there, you have, Ms. Wallace, listed so many different tools and resources in these comments. And I know we have, some, but one of the things that, and we've talked to a lot of teachers, a lot of parents over the course of the last 9 months. And one of the things that keep reoccurring topics that keep coming up is, where do I start? What is the best use? I mean, everybody is bombarded with so much information and so many tools and resources. How do you guys know what the best is for you, and what is the best route, for someone to say, hey, start here, and here's the first tier, here's the second tier, or something like that? How do you guys get past that?
Well, for me, it's because I'm a career tech teacher, so we have received trainings. Over here, I'm also pursuing my master's degree in technology education. So I kind of it comes in my instructional planning. I'm planning out activities and what is the best resource for my students.
This is another thing that we learn. We have to just go with the technology, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So yeah, you went out.
Yeah.
So from the tiered standpoint, because when we did the parent, and we're continuing to do the parent engagement sessions on Thursdays, we had to look at that, Ms. Wren. And so from the tiered standpoint, we said the first thing parents need to know are the virtual platforms in which their students are being instructed. So that's when we speak on the Canvas for the secondary schools and the Google Meet for the elementary schools. So if the parents could not manipulate and maneuver between those platforms, you were at a loss, because it is more than just simply, that's how, of course, the teachers may be utilizing Zoom or Google Meet to have the instruction, but that's where the students are receiving their assignments, where they're having to upload those assignments, where they're doing discussion. And so just to piggyback off of the discussions, Ms. Wallace mentioned the SAMR model. And I know this may not seem innovative, but with the pedagogy and the new thing that we're really focusing on this year with Jackson Public Schools as well is the social emotional learning. So when we talk about, utilizing the Canvas and the Google Meets, they're having those discussions in which they're sharing their emotions, their feelings. They may be discussing a particular topic and so forth. So I would say from a tiered standpoint, and I'm going to say a little bit more about social emotional learning, but from a tiered standpoint of the instructional tools, those virtual platforms, first and foremost, that the teachers and the students are having to utilize to communicate with each other. So that's going to be Canvas and Google for Jackson Public Schools right now. So shifting back to the question about, what has changed, I really do, and nationwide, with Jackson Public Schools, like I said, we're focusing more on social emotional learning, the health and the well-being of our students, but also nationwide, because if we can't tune in to that, then the academic is going to be lost. So we just really have been focusing on taking care of the children, psychic, like I said, that social, that emotional, before we can even jump into the academics. So that's something else that we really focused on. We've been focusing on the 5 core competencies, but even with Ms. Wallace stating the SAMR model, we use the 3 signature practices, SEL signature practices as well, in which we want to make certain that whenever we step into a classroom, whether it's virtual, whether it's face-to-face, that you have a welcoming ritual. And I know you all have probably seen those videos and so forth, but you can do that in a virtual platform as well. Want to make sure that throughout the lesson it's engaging. And that's where, Ms. Wallace may utilize the SAMR model to make sure that we're not just simply on Zoom and I'm lecturing you, but I'm using Flipgrid, I'm using Padlet, I'm using annotation, I'm using the chat box to engage with my students. And then the optimistic closure, which means I'm not, okay, today's lesson is over, but really having that reflection, that time to recap, to make sure that students are understanding the lesson before ending it. So I wanted to share that as well as something new, innovative, that and it's not new, but it has been a shift in focus for us this year.
Speaking of the social emotional, we did talk, was talking to Mississippi Department of Education today, and that is a big part of their focus as well. And I mentioned the classroom television. They're going to record some lessons or some videos that speaks to that. And so I think the television station, which is free and goes to every household in Mississippi, is a great way to deliver those messages as well, to help parents and students and teachers to connect with their students. So that's a big thing, like you said, nationwide.
And from the Mississippi Apprenticeship Program perspective, y'all know, which is a little bit different than what Ms. Wallace and Ms. Thomas shared. What I think is kind of innovative as it relates to education as far as business and industry and registered apprenticeship. I don't know if y'all are aware, you're probably not, because you may not follow registered apprenticeship as closely as I do, but there was a bill that passed, got legislation in the last session, and it's called the Earn to Learn Act, where the Mississippi Department of Education is supposed to be incorporating pre-apprenticeship programs that prepare students to go into a registered apprenticeship program offered by a company. So I think it's scheduled to have the first submission of that done by sometime in December. And I've taken notes on some of these models that y'all were talking about. And I think, the educators know more about it, but I'm going to make sure I mention that as we craft this model from pre-apprenticeship, starting at maybe age 16 to go through when they graduate, and some of them enter into a registered apprenticeship, that some of these models you are mentioning are made sure to be added into that pre-apprenticeship model. Because the way it's sounding is that the work-based learning coordinators, specifically, I think they're going to be working with JPS, if I'm not mistaken. I've gotten bits and pieces, but I've talked via email. I've communicated via email with a couple of people, and NDE wants to work on trying to create this pathway. So if they have these models that y'all are already using up front for pre-apprenticeship, getting them prepared to go into a registered apprenticeship program, I think that's innovative in itself, that there are options. And I just want students and parents to know there are options. Everybody does not have to go straight from high school to a 4-year college degree. You can take various pathways. You can start at 16 and be in a pre-apprenticeship program, graduate by the time you're 17, maybe 18, you can start in a registered apprenticeship program where you're actually being paid to learn a job. So I think for as far as the innovation and what I can bring perspective on from MAP is that you'll be hearing more about registered apprenticeship. You'll be hearing more about the Earn to Learn Act and tying NDE with registered apprenticeship in the state of Mississippi.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that. Let's try this one. How has your mission changed or altered given COVID? What are some tangible ways that your mission is being implemented? How has your mission changed or altered given COVID? And what are some tangible ways that your mission is being implemented?
Well, things I'm implementing in the classroom is I'm giving more. I've kind of restructured and making the learning meaningful. So I bring on project-based learning, there's real-world projects. So like, for instance, my students, previously we had always entered the Congressional App competition. We did it again this year, but students work in teams. And in our industry, in video and gaming, teams work remotely anyway. This is preparing them for what they would do in their careers anyway. So where it is, they took on the roles of project managers. You have some that were coders, some who did the artwork, some did the marketing, and these little teams, they not only they made their own apps, they worked out marketing strategies, and they presented them in front of a panel of industry professionals. And these were students who were in my class priorly, but they are on in college and working internships, and they were able to give them feedback, and their parents were even able to join in when they did these presentations. So I kind of like want to continue to make projects like that where students can have a portfolio work. That's what they walk away from. So it's meaningful. So they're actually engaged and they're trying to give the best that they can, because here's a project where if they do want to go, like Ms. Neely is talking about, into a internship, here's their apprenticeship, because now they have something, some type of proof. Or if they want to go to a college program, now they've been introduced to coding and they have something that colleges can look back on to show a body of work. So those, this is where I kind of try to take, and these are my goals, so that my students can walk away that we've spent 2 years together. It is something meaningful to them.
Awesome. Awesome.
And I think as it relates to the Mississippi Apprenticeship Program, the mission hasn't changed. The mission is to offer alternatives and different pathways for earning a livable wage in Mississippi. Registered apprenticeship is a proven model. You have on-the-job training, you have mentoring, you also have the related technical instruction, which is the classroom portion. Registered apprenticeship also offers wage increases. They are employees from day one. They get increases depending on the program. It could be competency-based or it could be time-based. So they're paid, they get incremental wages, and then when they leave, they get a credential that says they have completed a registered apprenticeship program that's sanctioned by the Department of Labor. So our mission has not changed. We've had to change some of the delivery with the classroom instruction and even the on-the-job training with CDC guidelines, but the mission has not changed. It's to offer Mississippians an opportunity to be trained and earn a higher wage in Mississippi through registered apprenticeship.
Okay, thank you for that.
I would say Mississippi Public Broadcasting that, like Ms. Neely, our mission has not really changed in MPB education, but we are more intentional on purpose about the work that we've been doing all along. I'll focus on families and parents and children, early childhood education, workforce development, and even more so now. So our mission remains the same, and that is to be focused and engaged on activities, projects, and programs that are helpful, functional, impactful, and life-changing. That's what we want to do. We don't want to just put out information just for the sake of say, hey, we're putting this on our website, we're offering this to you. We want it to be life-changing, and we want it to be information that can help individuals, families, teachers, parents. For instance, we offer CEUs to teachers, and we created in the middle of the pandemic 2 new courses that would help teachers learn how to operate in the new virtual environment. So, and also creating new content that speaks directly to COVID-19 issues, new lessons, new plans, videos, whatever it is. We want, and we've also incorporated more engaged listening. Like hearing from you today is going to help me go back and say, hey, here's what we need to do. Even if that means for us not doing this particular program, but really focusing on programs like I mentioned earlier for the parents or teachers to PAT across the state. Let's get more parents involved. So more engaged listening, more intentional work and programs. And then we want to make sure that educators, employers, others know that we are a statewide resource. Television, we go to every household. Every household in Mississippi has a potential to get Mississippi Public Broadcasting with old technology, a television and an antenna. And so that's kind of how we have changed or altered or remained the same, just very intentional.
Okay, all right. All right, ladies, we're going to go to the chat boxes and see if we have any questions from the audience. All right. Any questions? You all want to
Dr. Kia, you're breaking up. Do you think you could put it in a chat box for us?
I said that no.
That was a me question. Do I think seniors are ready for life after graduation? That's a hard question to answer. I was reading the chat. I'm going to try that again. The first question was, do you think seniors will be prepared for life after graduation? And that's kind of a hard question to answer because the world for them has changed. The world for all of us has changed. So it's like we're all learning at the same time to readjust. Do I think they'll adjust just like everybody else is learning to? In JPS, we have what's called being fluid. So we all have to learn how to be fluid and adapt. And that's the best way to answer that.
We had some seniors on our radio show during the pandemic earlier, and they're resilient. They're encouraging to each other. More than ever, they want to be successful. And so I think that mindset of, hey, we're not going to let this beat us, but we still need help, and we still need these tools and resources, and we need our village too. And I think everybody pulling together, providing the resources, and just encouraging our seniors, I think they will be successful because they have a resilient mindset.
I echo that. I pray that they are ready.
Okay.
This is the new normal. We need to be available to them and to help them be prepared to be ready.
I echo that as well. As I mentioned earlier, the shift to technology is definitely preparing them to be more accountable and responsible as relates to their learning. So independent learning, that they're definitely going to be a lot more tech savvy than we were as parents, and I definitely think they're learning time management skills as well. As we're going through this COVID pandemic, so I think they'll be ready for graduation as well as attaining a job and being productive citizens.
That's right.
That's the next question. What would you suggest after graduating for a job?
From the Mississippi Apprenticeship Program, I would suggest that you keep your options open. I'm here promoting registered apprenticeship, so that's what I can do. I can tell you that registered apprenticeship is great training for individuals graduating from high school that may not want to go right into college. You get the added addition of most likely working and learning at a community college through a registered apprenticeship program, and that may entice you to, complete a degree and to go on. But I would say keep your options open. Registered apprenticeship is a great way to make a good living, and you are paid while you are learning to do a job, not the other way around.
Ms. Neely, do you all have research to show how many people choose to go to a four-year college even after doing the apprenticeship?
I don't have it readily available, Dr. Kidd, but I could get that from you. Department of Labor keeps statistics like that, and what I'll do is I'll make myself a note to find out if I can get some numbers on that, and I'll get that to you.
I'm just curious.
Yes, and it's a valid question. I just don't want to give you any inaccurate information. It's not something that my office keeps up with, but I'll make sure to look into it for you.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to add to that. During one of my social and emotional learning host group discussions, students are having a lot of anxiety about what happens next and about going to college. So they expressed that some of them just want to take a year off, and that's understandable given everything they have gone through and watching the economy, watching people get laid off. They're very, because of social media, aware of the economy and things going on in the world. So something I would recommend, other than also, because MAP sounds like a very good program, the Mississippi Code Academy, because that's free. They can go there for a whole year and learn how to be coders. I promote CTE on all levels, doing high school at us, and then on to the community college with the CTE programs. There are all type of opportunities that are available than going to four-year colleges, which will prepare them for, because our world is, whether we like it or not, going automated and also virtual. So these are tools that's kind of like, or programs that can help them make the shift.
Mm-hmm. I would also add to what you two ladies said that what encompasses the umbrella of that is research. They have to do research what you think you like, and then make sure you remain open-minded about something that you may see that, oh, I would never do that, or I don't think that's a good fit for me. But then if you try it, but just, research and listening to different things, different podcasts, reading, follow bloggers, professional ones, and even go out and maybe, I don't know how it could work these days in COVID-19 world, you want to shadow or do a lot of, if you see someone you want to be like, or something you want someone who's a good model, they should look into that person's life, see what they've done, follow them, and those are just things that you can do. And then also just create your own, make sure you're creating a good self-presentation of yourself, your speech. Look at your social media, make sure that things are clean, that things are good, so that when you're ready to take that next step and put out applications or whatever the next step is, that when someone is researching you, they will be happy and to reach out and to have you become a part of their team, perhaps.
All right. Another question, do you think education will continue to be virtual for the next 6 months?
I think education will be virtual from now on. Honestly, it's not that we will ever return. You know, the best analogy I tell people, do everyone remember what happened to our world after September 11th? We could never travel with a whole container of lotion again. So we kind of need to treat this situation the same way. Education is going to be different in virtual components of it. You know, we will probably see more hybrid models, but the world as we know it is going virtual. So there's, you know, we need to be in the mindset of this is where our world is going.
I echo that, Ms. Wallace. I agree with that. I think it's you're going to see it continue for 6 months and beyond. We're just going to have to rethink how we train employees, how we educate students. This is the new normal, and I agree with her that it's here to stay.
I agree as well, and we just need to adapt. That's the main word: adapt and be flexible. In our as students learn differently, and as adults learn differently, because that's what we're going to be doing. Yep, we just have to adapt to it.
So is Ms. Thomas, has JPS made a decision regarding school after December?
So what I'm going to say to that is that the superintendent will be the first one to make that announcement. The superintendent will be the first one to deliver
Nice
that.
move, Ms. Thomas. Nice move.
I anticipate that announcement in short order, you know, soon. So we'll wait for our superintendent to make that announcement to the public.
Thank you, Attorney Thomas.
You know me, Dr.
That's fair
Kidd.
enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. I understand. All right. Is there anything else that we have not covered that we need to cover? I don't think there are any more questions in the chat.
I would just like to say from the Mississippi Apprenticeship Program, this is National Apprenticeship Week for us. Here's my little sign. They'll be happy. I'm sharing that with y'all. National Apprenticeship Week is about 6 years old through the Department of Labor, and it's a whole week-long celebration of all things registered apprenticeship. I would encourage the members of the panel and any students and parents that may be watching to follow the Mississippi Apprenticeship Program. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on LinkedIn. If you want to know more about registered apprenticeship in Mississippi, feel free to follow Mississippi Apprenticeship Program. And thanks for inviting us during National Apprenticeship Week.
Thank you, Ms. Neely.
Yes, ma'am.
You are truly passionate about what you do. Thanks a lot. Ms. Ryan, you want to give us some closing words?
Well, I just truly appreciate being invited to participate tonight, and very nice to make the acquaintance of the other panelists. And I do hope that you will reach out to me and that we can become partners in this education and workforce development across the state of Mississippi. And I too just encourage you to follow us on, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, Facebook at MPB Education, and our website has a plethora of information. So education.mpbonline.org, and we are statewide and here ready to serve Mississippi families. Thank you, Dr. Kidd.
Thank you for that, Ms. Rand. All right. Ms. Thomas, Ms. Wallace?
I've enjoyed, ladies, and I would love to be in contact with all of you. I'm going to get all your contact information because, as you guys see, I don't have nothing else to do but sit down and connect dots. And so I would love to have you guys on virtually in my classroom, and we can do a whole lot together.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Thomas, you have the final words.
I have the final words. Okay, so thank you all so much for allowing us to engage in this discussion this evening. I'm happy to be a representative of Jackson Public Schools. And as I stated, Dr. Kidd, we will get that information in short order. I anticipate very quickly. But whatever the mode of learning is, just know that we're here to do it with as much of excellence as we can for our students, our parents, our families within Jackson Public Schools. And I was on an interview I think right in the midst of the beginning of COVID, and I still feel the same way, that when all of this is over, we'll come out better. You know, we'll come out a lot stronger and a lot better post-COVID. So that's what we're looking forward to. Thank you so much.
I agree with that. Ladies, thank you all. It's been informative. I've learned a lot, and I know that the audience has learned a lot as well. So thank you for your time. Good night. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. How do I get out?